Warhammer 40k is a universe where gods aren't just worshipped. They're real, they're watching, and some of them want to eat your soul. From emotion-fueled demons to ancient star-eating monsters, every major faction in this galaxy either serves a god, fights one, or is desperately trying to become one themselves. That's why today I'm breaking down every major gate in Warhammer 40k and the absolute horror show they've created. Chaos. The Chaos gods aren't evil in the way you think they are. They're mirrors of every emotion sentient life has ever felt, and that's what makes them terrifying. Khorne, Tzeentch, Nurgle, and Slaanesh didn't just appear out of nowhere. They were birthed from the collective psychic energy of every living being, experiencing rage, ambition, despair, and desire across billions of years. These aren't villains you can defeat with a sword. They're the inevitable consequence of existence itself. Khorne is the blood god. Every act of violence feeds him. Every battlefield slaughter makes him stronger. Doesn't matter if you're a noble space marine defending humanity or a serial killer stalking victims in an alley. Khorne cares not from where the blood flows. He represents war, martial honor, and skill in combat, but also mindless slaughter and rage. His bloodthirster demons are flying death machines with axes big enough to split tanks in half, and his mortal champions are granted superhuman strength in exchange for an eternity of killing. Tzeentch is the changer of ways. He's powered by ambition, hope for change, scheming, and magic itself. Every politician plotting, every scientist researching, every person praying for a better tomorrow feeds him. He's paradoxical because hope itself empowers him, meaning the desperate citizens of the Imperium unknowingly strengthen him just by wishing for survival. His greater demon is the Lord of Change, master manipulators who orchestrate galaxy-spanning plots just for the fun of it. Nurgle is grandfather, the plague father. Every disease, every rotting wound, every fear of death empowers him. But here's the thing, Nurgle is portrayed as jovial and loving. His followers embrace decay and are freed from pain. When you accept Nurgle's gifts, you stop suffering from the plagues he inflicts. You become one of his happy children, spreading disease with a smile. His great unclean ones are massive bloated demons that laugh as they spread plague and corruption. Slaanesh is the youngest but possibly the most dangerous. Born from the Eldari's fall into absolute depravity 60 million years into their empire, Slaanesh represents excess in all forms. Pleasure, pain, art, music, gluttony, lust. Anything taken to extremes feeds Slaanesh. The birth of this god literally tore a permanent hole in reality called the Eye of Terror and murdered 90% of the Eldari species in an instant. Every single Eldari soul now belongs to Slaanesh upon death, condemning them to eternal torment. The Keeper of Secrets is his greater demon, a seductive horror that dances through battle inflicting exquisite agony. The Great Game is what the Four call their eternal war for dominance. Khorne and Slaanesh despise each other. Nurgle and Tzeentch are opposites. They fight amongst themselves constantly while simultaneously corrupting the material universe. Their demon armies clash in the warp for eternity, and mortal champions are just pawns in a game that's been playing for millions of years. But if you think emotion-powered demon gods are bad, at least they're not trying to quietly murder the universe with a 10,000-year plan. The Emperor. The Emperor of mankind is either humanity's only hope or its greatest hypocrite, and nobody can agree which. Born sometime around 8000 BCE in ancient Turkey, he was created when hundreds of human shamans committed collective psychic suicide, merging their souls into one immortal perpetual. For 40,000 years, he guided humanity from the shadows, advised kings, influenced empires, watched civilizations rise and fall, all while hiding what he truly was. When the Age of Strife nearly destroyed humanity, he finally revealed himself, led the unification wars on Terra, conquered Earth, then launched the Great Crusade to reunite humanity across the stars. He gene-crafted 20 Primarchs from his own DNA to serve as generals, created the Space Marine legions, and built the Imperium on a foundation of rationalism and atheism. The Imperial truth stated there were no gods, only aliens and superstition. Worship was forbidden. Here's where it gets complicated. The Emperor denied his own divinity constantly, punished anyone who called him a god, but his power was undeniably godlike. He could destroy demons with a thought, resurrect the dead, and his psychic presence lit the warp like a bonfire. When Horus, his favorite son, betrayed him during the Horus Heresy, the Emperor was mortally wounded in their final confrontation aboard the Vengeful Spirit. He killed Horus but was left a corpse. For 10,000 years, he's been entombed on the Golden Throne, a life support machine that requires 1,000 psychers sacrificed daily to keep him alive. His psychic beacon, the Astronomicon, guides ships through the warp but costs 1,000 souls every single day. The entity that preached rationalism and rejected godhood is now worshipped by trillions as the God Emperor of mankind. The ecclesiarchy, the imperial church, controls entire sectors through faith in him. Nobody knows if he's still conscious or just a psychic corpse. Some theories suggest his soul shattered in the warp, creating the Star Child. Others believe he's literally becoming a chaos god through worship, growing stronger as belief in him spreads. The ultimate irony is that the man who fought against superstition created the most dogmatic religious empire in history. His sons, the Primarchs, are worshipped as saints. His words are scripture. The imperial cult has replaced the imperial truth entirely. The Emperor's plan was to guide humanity into the webway, eliminating dependence on warp travel and starving chaos. Magnus the Red accidentally destroyed that plan by shattering the webway defenses while trying to warn the Emperor about Horus. 10,000 years of human history have been dictated by that one mistake, and the Emperor sits silent on his throne, unable to fix anything. But if you think one dying god king is a problem, wait until you hear about the gods who just want a good fight. Gork and Mork. Gork and Mork are the orc gods, and they're probably the most straightforward entities in the entire setting. One is brutally cunning, the other is cunningly brutal. Orcs will literally kill each other, arguing over which is which. That's the entire theological debate. The difference matters tremendously to orcs and makes zero sense to anyone else. These gods were created by the collective psychic gestalt of the orc race during the war in heaven when the old ones engineered orcs as weapons. Unlike chaos gods that feed on emotions, Gork and Mork are pure distilled violence and aggression given form. Every weach, every brutal melee, every explosion empowers them. They don't scheme, don't corrupt, don't manipulate, they just want everyone to fight forever. Here's what makes them unique. They're not evil. They have zero ulterior motives. Gork and Mork genuinely just love a good scrap, and so do their followers. When an orc dies in glorious combat, they believe they join Gork and Mork for an eternal brawl in the afterlife. That's orc heaven, fighting forever. The gods manifest through the one energy, the psychic field generated by orcs believing something hard enough. When millions of orcs gather for war, the sheer psychic pressure can make their ramshackle technology actually work, turn their war bosses into near unstoppable juggernauts, and allow Gork and Mork to reach into reality. During the War of the Beast, the largest orc ever recorded, simply called the Beast, may have been a direct avatar of the twin gods. Orcs pilot massive war machines called Gorkanauts and Morkanauts, believing these titan-sized walkers channel their god's power. The pilots experience visions of Gork and Mork, urging them to fight harder, die gloriously, and crush everything in their path. These aren't delusions. The visions are real. The gods occasionally manifest in the warp itself. They've been documented beating up chaos demons for fun. Nurgle's garden has been trampled by them. They kicked around some of Khorne's bloodthirsters just because. They're not defending anything or fighting for a cause. They just thought it would be a laugh. When Gajkul Thraka, the most infamous orc war boss in modern history, got shot in the head by a bolter shell, his brain was augmented with bionics. Upon waking, he claimed Gork and Mork spoke to him directly, commanding him to unite all orcs in the greatest wah the galaxy has ever seen. Every action he's taken since has been to fulfill that vision. Millions of orcs follow him because they believe he's the chosen prophet of their gods. The terrifying part is that Gork and Mork might genuinely be the most pure gods in the setting. They're not corrupting anyone, not enslaving souls, not plotting galactic domination. They're just big, dumb, brutally effective gods who want everyone to have a proper fight. No strings attached, and that's somehow more honest than everything else in this universe. But if you think gods that just want to fight are scary, wait until you meet the gods who predate even the concept of emotion. Star gods. The Citan are the oldest entities in the galaxy, and they make chaos look like children playing pretend. Before life existed, before the warp became corrupted, the Citan were energy beings that fed directly on stars. They drifted through the void for billions of years, consuming stellar radiation and existing in forms we can't comprehend. Then the Necrontyr gave them bodies. The Necrontyr were a short-lived, cancer-ridden species, desperate for immortality. When they encountered the Citan, they offered to build them physical forms made of living metal called necrodermis. The Citan accepted, and the universe learned true horror. Now embodied, the star gods could interact with the material realm, and they were hungry for something new. The Deceiver convinced the Necrontyr to undergo biotransference, the process that turned them into the Necrons. Every single Necrontyr walked willingly into furnaces that ripped out their souls and imprisoned their consciousness in metal bodies. The Citan consumed those souls, trillions of them. It was the greatest feast in history, and the Necrontyr realized too late they'd been played. The Citan at their peak were unstoppable. The Nightbringer is the literal embodiment of death, Every species' fear of mortality stems from him. When he walks, reality itself recoils. The Void Dragon is a master of technology in the material world. One theory states he's imprisoned beneath Mars, and that the Adeptus Mechanicus unknowingly worship him as the machine god. The deceiver manipulates reality and truth itself. The outsider went mad and devours other Citan. During the war in heaven, the C'tan and Necrons fought the Old Ones and Eldari. The galaxy was shattered by this conflict. Entire star systems were obliterated. But when the Old Ones were defeated, the Silent King realized the C'tan would turn on the Necrons next. So he led a rebellion. The Necrons shattered their gods. The C'tan were broken into shards and imprisoned. These fragments are still impossibly powerful. A single shard of the Nightbringer can wipe out armies. A Void Dragon shard makes technology bow to its will, but they're no longer whole entities. The full, unshattered C'tan no longer exist. Probably, maybe. Nobody's entirely sure. And that uncertainty is terrifying. The Silent King's ultimate plan to restore the Necrons to flesh requires destroying the remaining C'tan shards completely. But every shard destroyed weakens reality itself. They're fundamental forces of nature given form. Removing them might break the universe in ways we can't predict. The C'tan predate chaos by millions of years. They don't feed on emotion. They don't care about worship. They're just reality-warping star gods that see all biological life as food or tools, and even shattered into fragments. They're among the most dangerous entities in existence. But if ancient star gods aren't horrifying enough, at least they're not the gods that got murdered by their own creations in the most ironic way possible. Fallen gods. The Eldari pantheon used to rule the galaxy. Gods created by the psychic gestalt of the Eldari species, similar to how Gork and Mork exist for orcs. Asurion was the king, greatest of all. Kana was the god of war, bloody-handed and brutal. Isha was the goddess of life and healing. Vol the smith. Kurnus the hunter. Segarak the trickster. Morai Heg the crone of fate. Lilith of dreams and fortune. Then Slaanesh was born, and almost all of them died screaming. The fall of the Eldari was the single most catastrophic event in galactic history. The Eldari Empire had existed for millions of years, completely unchallenged. They'd mastered the webway, defeated every enemy, achieved technological supremacy, but with no threats to fight, they turned inward. They pursued pleasure, art, sensation, experience. For thousands of years, their society descended into absolute depravity. Every excess, every indulgence, every dark impulse was explored and embraced. In the warp, this psychic energy coalesced. Slowly, the birth pangs of a new god began. Slaanesh gestated in the immaterium, growing stronger as Eldari civilization spiraled further into madness. When Slaanesh finally erupted into existence, the psychic shockwave killed trillions of Eldari instantly. Their souls were consumed, ripped from their bodies and devoured by she who thirsts. The eye of terror tore open in real space, a permanent wound where the warp bled through. The Eldari gods were consumed. Asurion, Kurnus, Val, Morai Heg, Lilith, all dead. Isha tried to resist and was captured by Nurgle, who keeps her imprisoned in his garden as a test subject for his plagues. She's forced to sample every disease he creates for eternity, unable to die, unable to escape. It's one of the cruelest fates in the setting. Cain shattered when Slaanesh tried to consume him. His essence fragmented across the surviving craft worlds, manifesting as the avatars of Cain. These are towering molten war constructs that embody the last remnants of the war god's power. They're supposed to be unstoppable harbingers of destruction. In lore, they lose constantly, which has become a running joke in the community. Segarak survived by hiding in the webway. The laughing god saw the fall coming and noped out before Slaanesh could grab him. Now he's the patron deity of the Harlequins, Eldari, who perform the dance of death across the galaxy. They view all existence as a cosmic joke, and Kegarak is the only one laughing. His followers are unpredictable, deadly, and utterly devoted to the great plan, whatever that actually is. The tragedy is absolute. The Eldari created a god through their own excess, and that god destroyed them. Every single Eldari soul now belongs to Slaanesh upon death. Their only options are storing their souls in infinity circuits on Crave worlds, feeding on others suffering like the Drukhari, or dying and being tortured in the warp for eternity. The gods that once protected them are gone, and their civilization will never recover. But there's one more god the Eldari are trying to birth. Enid, the god of the dead, is gestating in the infinity circuits. The Inari believe that if enough Eldari die and their souls are collected, Ennead will awaken strong enough to destroy Slaanesh and free their race. It's a desperate gamble that requires mass death to succeed, the ultimate price to undo the ultimate sin. But if you think gods that were murdered by their own people's hedonism are tragic, at least they actually existed as divine entities, and not whatever this next thing is. Omnicia. The Adeptus Mechanicus worship the machine god and the Omnissiah, and nobody's entirely sure if either exists. The cult Mechanicus believes the Omnissiah is an avatar of the machine god, the physical manifestation of the supreme intelligence that governs all technology. When the Emperor arrived on Mars, they immediately declared him the Omnissiah, merged their faith with the Imperium, and have been doing machine prayers ever since. But here's the problem. The machine god might just be the Void Dragon. During ancient history, a massive dragon-like entity crashed on Earth. The Emperor, in one of his rare confirmed acts of incredible power, wounded this creature and dragged it to Mars, where he imprisoned it deep beneath the surface. The theory is that this dragon was a shard of the Void Dragon Citan, the star god of technology and the material realm, and for thousands of years its psychic influence shaped the development of Martian civilization. The cult Mechanicus arose on Mars after the Age of Strife devastated the planet. Survivors took refuge underground, and those who could maintain the technology became priests. Science shifted into worship. Understanding machines became Holy Communion. Replacing flesh with augmetics was spiritual ascension. The philosophy that flesh is weak and the machine is eternal spread across Mars, creating the tech priests we know today. When the Emperor showed up and performed technological miracles, the Mechanicus viewed him as the Omnissiah. The Treaty of Mars formalized the alliance between Terra and Mars, allowing the Mechanicus to retain religious autonomy in exchange for supplying the Imperium with technology. This is why they worship differently from the rest of the Imperium. The Ecclesiarchy preaches the God Emperor. The Mechanicus worships the machine god through the Omnissiah. Whether the machine god is real or not doesn't matter functionally. The Mechanicus treat all technology as sacred. Machines have spirits that must be appeased through the ritual. Knowledge is the highest divinity. Innovation is tech heresy because all knowledge was given by the machine god in the dark age of technology through STCs. Discovering lost technology is holy work. Creating new technology is sin. Machine spirits are either fragments of divine consciousness infused in all machines, or they're just AI that the Mechanicus doesn't want to admit exists because true AI is forbidden. Nobody knows for sure. Some machine spirits are clearly just automated systems. Others seem genuinely sentient and respond to prayer. The line between code and divinity is deliberately blurred. If the Void Dragon theory is true, then the Mechanicus has been manipulated by a C10 shard for 10,000 years. Every prayer, every ritual, every augmentation has been feeding an ancient star god imprisoned beneath Mars. Belisarius Cawl, the Archmagus who designed the Primaris Space Marines, has pushed technological innovation further than any tech priest in millennia. If the machine god exists and approves, that would explain his success. If it doesn't, it proves innovation was never heresy to begin with. The truth is unknowable, and that's deliberate. Faith and technology merge in the Mechanicos in ways that make the question of divine existence irrelevant. They're the keepers of humanity's scientific knowledge, and they genuinely believe machines have souls. Whether those souls come from the machine god, a captive Sidon, or human belief itself doesn't change their devotion. But if you think a god that might be an imprisoned space dragon is confusing, at least it has some kind of personality. The next entity doesn't have emotions at all, and that makes it infinitely worse. The hunger. The Tyranid hive mind is either the most intelligent entity in the galaxy or the most horrifying collective instinct ever conceived. And honestly, both options are terrifying. It's the Gestalt consciousness connecting every single Tyranid organism across multiple galaxies. Every Gaunt, every warrior, every hive tyrant, every bioship. Billions upon billions of creatures thinking in perfect unison. This isn't a god in the traditional sense. The hive mind doesn't want worship. It doesn't have emotions. It doesn't scheme or manipulate. It just consumes. Every planet the Tyranids invade is stripped completely. Biomass, oceans, atmosphere. Everything is devoured and recycled into more Tyranids. They're the ultimate predator, and they're heading straight for the Milky Way in numbers that make every other threat look manageable. The shadow and the warp is the hive mind's presence. Where the Tyranids go, the warp becomes silent. Psychers go mad or die. Astropathic communication fails. The Astronomicon is blocked. It's like a psychic null field that blankets entire systems, cutting them off from outside help before the invasion even begins. Chaos demons can't manifest where the hive mind is strongest. Planets die in silence, and nobody knows until the fleet moves on, leaving dead worlds behind. The intelligence is godlike. Every Tyranid contains the collected knowledge of every creature the hive has ever consumed across millions of years and multiple galaxies. A single lictor isn't just a lictor, it's every lictor that ever existed, retaining all their memories and experiences. When it dies, that knowledge returns to the hive hive mind, which then creates new lictors with that information. Immortal predators that learn from every mistake. The hive mind adapts instantly. Facing space marines? Create Tyranids with armor-piercing claws. Fighting chaos? Develop anti-warp bioforms. Encountering Necrons? Evolve weapons that shatter living metal. Hive Fleet Chronos specializes in killing demons and was specifically designed to counter chaos. The Tyranids learn faster than any other faction can respond. The most terrifying part is scale. The Tyranid fleets we've seen so far are just the vanguard, scouting forces. The main swarm hasn't even arrived yet. The Silent King of the Necrons encountered the full Tyranid force beyond the Galactic Rim and immediately returned to the Milky Way to prepare. He believes the Tyranids are fleeing something worse, which implies there's an even greater horror out there. The hive mind demonstrates cruelty, not sadism or malice, but calculated psychological warfare. It will keep human populations alive in terror just to study their responses. It creates hybrids and genestealer cults that infiltrate societies for decades before the fleet arrives. It's not mindless hunger. It's strategic, patient, and infinitely adaptable. Some believe the hive mind is the galaxy's immune response to chaos, pure biological evolution countering warp corruption. Others think it's a sentient galaxy-eating swarm from beyond the known universe. Either way, it's functionally omniscient within its sphere of influence. Thinks at speeds no biological mind can comprehend, and its only goal is consumption. The Tyranids are the heat death of the galaxy-given teeth, and nothing can stop them permanently. You can only delay them. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, click the video on the screen now.